Hello everybody, this is Robert with Deep Thought Cycle Blogs, and these are Chinese ramen noodles, like this, and I've actually ate these since I was a kid, you know, living by myself in an apartment. As a swimmer, and it was easy to get carbohydrates, and I really enjoy it. And now, as somebody that's on the run, on the commute, I also eat them, and I think that they're very convenient. This is beer. Not really what I drink all the time, but today's a special sit down, and I'm rarely early. I just fixed my rear brake, BB7, and no, it was really hard because number one, there's nowhere to get brake pads in China for BB7s right now. Real hard. And number two, I just tried to order a Schwalbe Supreme tire to replace my heavy marathon pluses, and I thought that I could get one tire from CRC, or I thought I could get two tires, even though only one was in stock, and they would send me out the other one, but they messed up on my order. They only let me buy one tire, and the next one they won't tell me when the next one's in stock, so I have to pay for shipping twice to China. It seems impossible to find this other tire, so I guess I'll put it on the front of the bike. It'll be a 700 by 35. It'll be lighter, and I got 700 by 38s. Right now the tire I have weighs like, with the tube, it weighs like 1.25 kilos or something, just for the tire and tube. The new tire I get will be 500 grams, and it doesn't need a tube. So 700 grams saving in unsprung and sprung weight spins make me faster on my commute. But and today after 7,000 kilometers on this bike, I had to finally change my brake pads. Really, no choice. Luckily, I had some old BB7s in my house from my old bike before I upgraded to XT hydraulics, which was a mistake if you see one of my other reviews. Luckily, the pads had some life on them, but after an hour, for some reason I wasn't able to install the brake pads correctly, so I had to even change out my rear brake for another BB7 rear mountain that I had, about 4 years old. Still works though, which is great, but the problem is for some reason I couldn't get the brake pads to seat. So and I had to do this as fast as I could to get to work, right? Here I am at a little convenience store. There's my bike. I even managed to get a phone holder. Isn't that awesome? It's not really on this shirt. I kind of strapped it to the toe peak one. But it's better than the bungee cord. Not waterproof though. No. Over the next weeks, I'm going to try to spend this time to introduce myself a little bit and do reviews of components. And right now it's just you and me. No components in this review. So I thought I'd introduce myself to everybody out there, since we have some camera time with face to face and even have a beer together. I wouldn't recommend drinking too much when you drive through traffic. I have a 2.5 hour break until I go on a 38-kilometer ride home. And you have to be careful. If you're dehydrated, or you've ridden like a couple 100 kilometers and you haven't really rested with 3 hours of sleep, which right now I'm not, the alcohol could really sneak up on you and attack you, and your body just like will get drunk really easy. You might find yourself in compromising positions. So be careful what you drink. I know that Shirley makes it real cool, like they got flasks and stuff to go out and drink with their bike. I don't know that I'd want to run around with a flask riding 110 kilometers and not sleeping and getting too loopy, you know. So let's talk about, let me just do a quick introduction and then my name is Robert and I'm from the US. I left the US a long time ago when I was 19 the first time. I've lived in Germany for about 6 years. In Eastern Germany before moving back to the US. And then a little bit of it after 9/11 happened in the US. I came to China, and I've been in China consecutively for 15 years now. I guess I came in November, I think it's November 2001. And I've only left China in that time like 4 or 5 times for half a day each. And like three of those times was to go to Hong Kong to get the parts for my bike. And I told you before about how difficult it was to build it, I think. I teach in China. I noodles. I used to be a photographer doing freelance stuff before microstock photography kind of destroyed that, and before my equipment was robbed. And I've been married twice in China. I have 4 kids. My first wife, unfortunately, had some mental problems. And, surprisingly, my second wife has mental problems. And I have 1 child from my first Chinese wife and 3 from my second. they all live with me. I took care of them all, and I have 3 autistic children. I guess I was kind of put on earth to be there for people that have mental problems. And having Asperger's myself a little bit, I guess on my own problems. Come to think about it, perhaps every human has mental problems to some extent. I've also worked really hard to develop the centerofthenet.com. It's an open learning solution that I really wanted to kickstart. And I still do want to kickstart it. The problem is my wife's health has been really, really bad these past years. And I came to China when I was 26, and all of my 30s was spent pretty much, actually, a lot of challenges in China have been due to my marriage. But all of my 30s was spent pretty much with my wife taking care of her destructive, she's bipolar and manic depressive, and with each child we got, her health got really, really, really bad. So it caused me just to work every day to pick up the pieces of her destruction, and I have little to show for my 30s because all my potential was, family first, and that's what I did. And I don't know what better thing to fight for, right? Could have been a war. You see this guy over here? You hear that? And he's selling rat traps. Selling mouse traps over there. Rats are a big problem in China. As they were in many places during the bubonic plague. So now I've started my 40th decade in life. I'll be 41 in May. My wife's health has gotten better, and I homeschool all my kids, and they're doing better in their homeschool. And I'm often getting very, very worried about what will happen when I'm 50. And obviously I won't receive Social Security or a pension from the U.S. But perhaps when my wife is totally stable, I can once again focus on trying to do kickstarting the centerofthenet.com. Pretty girls are everywhere. I don't look at pretty girls that much, I promise. But my number one goal is to help my wife be stable and my children become successful in their studies. And even my autistic children, more simple goals that they can talk, and their little brother, Bobby, has the education that he needs to take care of all of his brothers in my absence. And as long as they're safe and sound, I will work until I die. In China, I lived in Guangxi, and China has provinces. And I lived in Hubei, Guangxi, and Guangdong. And most of my time was in Guangdong and Guangxi. And I lived in, some people call it Canton Tribe. That was the old name, right? I've done a lot of work in China. I only taught IT before. I used to do like a technical trainer, a T3 technical trainer for Plexer Corporation in the U.S. What that means is they opened up the North America Support Center for Plexer, which is a child of Shinano Kenshi of Japan. And my job was to train the people and to teach them to do support. In the U.S., in Germany, I had my own computer business somewhat in a small mountain village called Roda, with the most beautiful place in Germany, the most friendly people, and I was married to a German lady for 6 years. She was a dental assistant. Absolutely wonderful girl. Wonderful village, wonderful people. And I did some computer stuff there in my own little business I had. I can't stress little, right? And when I bought the centerthenet.com domain, and yes, I was married a lot. You know, and I attribute that to the fact that, you know, I lived alone since I was 14. And when I was a young boy, I had my own apartment, and my stepmother didn't like me very much. So I was kicked out of my home, and that's how I lived, in my own place. So I was pretty lonely. I guess psychologically, yeah. As I got, I found out autism, right? I really found out I had Asperger's autism when I was researching how to help my own children that are autistic, and I realized that all these symptoms of Asperger's, that describes my whole childhood growing up. So it's logic to rationalize it. You know, getting married a lot, kind of quickly, was due to the fact that, you know, I grew up lonely in my youth, I guess, right? Now that I'm older, much older, of course I don't hope for a divorce, but I could see things more clearly now. And yeah, so anyways, I was in Germany for 6 years and did IT and did training there, and I came to China. And in China, I got introduced to the wonderful world of teaching English. I've taught so many different things, and I've been in so many different situations that can make a movie about it, I guess. I don't see that many other people that were here for 15 years or longer. Right now, I can say I don't know anybody that's been here longer than me. Not even one person. Which is scary, considering that China has 18.7% of the world's population. So, in this country, I've taught everything. Preschool, kindergarten. I can tell you a crazy thing. I've taught the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, multiple times. I had to teach the WTO when it was first formed. I had to teach a lot of classes to the Communist Party training schools about WTO. And I don't like the WTO. I don't want to say that, but so not only did I not, you know, at that time in the U.S., the activities against the WTO was very active. I didn't just teach vocabulary, if you know what I'm saying. I taught all the aspects. A lot of people did not foresee the aspects of the WTO. I did, and I went to China to teach them all. I taught the government many times. I taught many universities. Medical universities once, well, not once, many times. One time I remember when they had all the cadavers in the bottles, like a freak show of cancers, victims and babies and malformed people that were put in the glasses of formaldehyde and set in jars in front of our English classes. And I asked the director of the university, I said, hey, why do we got all these people's bodies and body parts in front of our English class? What does that really have to do with medical science, with English, you know? Well, we just want to get them interested. So I have a million one stories about teaching.
Hello.
Hey, 你好，你好。Taught a lot of. Hey, 帮我还有一瓶好不好？ So I taught many stories, many places. 有帮我开啊。And I taught so many.
吃面不好，咱吃面不好。
我韩国面我很喜欢吃这个。
以前就是那个，咱吃面。我再来，看到。锅面啊，那个。
I taught medical universities and.
你在录像吧？
对，我现在在 YouTube。YouTube 一个 blog。冬天。And then I taught the government during Theta and SARS and chicken flu and 小心吧，
把它推过来，推。
小心。我现在有冬天有关冬天。
对，直接好吧。
So I taught a lot of stuff like that, and then I.
你记得了，打电话了哈，记得。
很好用的。
很好用啊，这个。
每个星期去有450公里哦，3个月我去1800公里哦。I tell them every week I go 450 kilometers. Last month was 1,800.
录像是吧？录像是吧？
对，我现在有在东片在 YouTube 里。
在拍是吧？
对。So I taught a lot of. When I taught private schools, I taught the nice people's schools. I taught the rich children's schools, of boarding schools. I've seen myself on billboards, and I've seen myself on TV and stuff like that. And I've taught scary places. Ooh, scary things. I got scary stories too, but I'm not going to talk about them. I've taught in cities and countrysides and villages where they're so poor, but the best students. And then I came to Guangzhou, and I taught a lot of Fortune 500 companies. I taught P&G, Nokia, HSBC, Nortel, so many, like. I have to really look at my CV. Abbott Vascular, pharmaceutical corporations, Bayer, lots of pharmaceutical corporations. I've taught lots and lots of Fortune 500 companies. Let me tell you a secret. I made the less money when I taught them, the least amount of money. But it was good for AIA, AIG. You want to put really big Fortune 500 company names on? I taught their vice presidents and Motorola during the P&G Procter & Gamble takeover. I taught a lot of big bosses that a lot of people probably pay to go to seminars with these guys. And when I was teaching them, I was trying to teach them ethics too. goes, you know, you could stand outside with a sign about the WTO. You could go to China and talk to the CEOs that are in the big machine, and I did that for many years. And then I also taught a lot of the top. So I started to teach for myself a little bit, and my own students, and more and more universities, lots of universities here. And finally, I went and now it's just some. Now I teach middle schools. I've taught middle schools and high schools too. High school's always been my least favorite. I like it. I'm teaching middle school now, 7th and 8th grade, and teach 16 classes on a Wednesday and Thursday, and I teach a lot of my private students that I've been teaching consecutively for years, and I teach them just like I teach my own kids that I homeschool. So I teach a lot. I'm on my second year at Danger, so long week, let me tell you. But I don't do that much. Not anymore. And I'm looking forward to get my new tires. So stressful to buy bike parts. I commute every day. I ride my bike. You know, I did commute before. When I first came to China, I bought a bike a little bit. I bought a motorcycle, like a scrambler kind of dirt bike. And I was like jumping the motorcycle over railroad crossings, and there was no rules of traffic laws there. You think I'm crazy on my bike? You don't know how crazy people drive. It's like crazy in Mexico, I guess. Like when I had a dirt bike, I was like going crazy. I was a threat to myself, I thought, a threat to the people around me, a threat to the safety of my kids. So eventually I sold my motorcycle. I turned Chinese. Like I had a baby chair on the back of my dirt bike, and in China, there's like people that I get dehumanized, desexualized. People put like 10 people on a motorcycle. And I started to do the dangerous things, and I said, okay, I better get rid of the motorcycle. And then I had a bike for a couple years here, and I rode more than 20,000 kilometers on it. And unfortunately, it was stolen, and it was stolen my laptop. I got kind of hit by a car, knocked out after being extremely tired, and woke up. All my stuff was gone. Lost a lot of money. Lost my laptop. And, pretty bad. So after I lost my bike, and I spent so much money of my family's money on that, like it was so expensive for us. I said, well, you know, when I first bought that bike, I only had 1 or 2 kids. Now I've got 4 kids. It's too dangerous to get a bike. So I stopped riding for a couple years. Thought that I could swim. But swimming, and I swim like, 5,000 meters. You know, you gotta swim at least 5,000 meters. You're not doing it right, I think. Right? So I tried to swim, but the problem is I didn't have the time, and I gained a lot of weight. Now I'm heavy. I got hypothyroid, and gained a lot of. I got down to 67 kilos, and I was like riding my ass off. My wife was really, really tough, and I've always been the only worker in my family. Her mental problems were really tough. She was a nightmare. So finally, I got 67 kilos, but then I got up to, I lost, when I stopped riding, I didn't get the chance to swim as like I wanted to. So my weight got up to 94 kilos, like last October finally. And during that time, I had DVT, and I had DVT's deep vein thrombosis, like blood clots in my legs. And the first time it almost killed me. And the doctors said, oh yeah, well, in China, doctors are really like, not a good thing. They try to, rape you for your money, and every time you go to the hospital, it's $20 in for this and that. And I know that DVT is serious, and I had serious blood clots, and I had arthritis, and my health was so bad, gouty arthritis. It got so bad where I was like laying on the floor, and like laying on my wife's back to be carried to the bathroom, and my kids, when 2 of my kids were born in the hospital, I had to be in a wheelchair. I would hardly sleep, and my liver didn't get a chance to heal from no sleep. It's bad on your body, and working to death, and it just was getting worse and worse. And finally, I said, well, look, I think that my health is so bad that the danger of commuting daily negates the danger of DVT and blood clots. So last October, I bought my bike. Let me see if I show you here. I pieced it together, right? And I'm still piecing it together. And I now ride again, 450 kilometers a week, about 411, I don't know, whenever the classes don't cancel. I'm down to about 77 kilos from 94 kilos. So slow for me to lose weight. And I attribute that to really not sleeping. You know, I think not sleeping is the worst thing. It's not like I eat a lot. And I mean, I ride 450 kilometers a week. So like, how many people you know that ride 1,800 kilometers a week and they're like 77 kilos at 5'6"? I mean, it don't make sense. So it's got to be due to my metabolism from not sleeping. So I try to sleep better. Try to take care of my kids. And I, you know, I rode a lot, and I always wanted to have like, you know, right now I just got this camera, and I just starting to put it on, but all these years I wish I had a camera, you know, as a photographer, and I did have a camera, but I wish I had a video camera on the crazy places I've been. So now that I have this Garmin Verb, I will try to keep it on and show you a little bit of my world. And, you know, I've got an hour and a half a day, and twice a day to ride a lot. For some reason, my average trips are like 30 kilometers. Not by design, it's just statistically crazy. And it takes me, you know, in heavy traffic, you know, I could get 28 kilometers an hour. I'm going real fast. These new tires will help me. The tires I got right now are a beast. But I average like 59 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes per hour and 20 minutes per commute. And I try to do some talking about it. I get some deep thoughts, like all that psychological stuff that happens when you're on your own for an hour and a half a day. It's therapeutic, and this is free-form talk radio. I mean, you listen to talk radio on the AM before. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're rambling and stuff." Well, you know, hence the title, Deep Thought Box. Rambling means deep, right? And how do I imagine you watching this blog? Well, as somebody that programs. I always enjoyed watching people that were like on like touring trips and stuff. When I'm doing like my lesson planning or something that I really don't need to have my full brain to concentrate on the work, but it's tedious work. I got to do data entry or something, or that's when I watch stuff like that. I even like download like Democracy Now! And stuff, and I download some blogs, video blogs, and I listen to them on my bike when I ride. And if you have free time, I don't have any kind of special answers or special life, but YouTube is so diverse. If you have any kind of interest in anything I'm talking about, your diligence and your innovation will probably lead you to my topics that are covered. And when I put those topics online, you know, I got this whole autism thing going on. You know, I get my video, and then I try to really just keyword. I listen, I go back and do a real quick review, because normally I'm like teaching a class, or I'm like teaching my kids, or like I'm doing something else. I never have time to just sit and mess with the video. And like I'll just like take notes. Okay, like okay, talk about this, talk about this, talk about this, talk about okay, handlebar review, my life, blah 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 blah. And I'll just type those keywords. I'll put them in the body of the video, and I'll try to, you know, I'll put that in Reddit in some places and stuff, and put on YouTube, and it looks very like somebody spamming something, but you know what? I'm not spamming anything. You know, I've been in some strange country, you know, isolated, you know, and I don't got nothing to do with that, right? And I'm not looking at those pretty girls that just walk by. Girl, not girls. But I don't sell anything. If you want to donate money, wow, that's awesome. If you're a very rich man, you happen to help my video, watch my video, and you want to click on the support me, whatever that button is on YouTube, you know, my family and I greatly appreciate it. I promise you that everything I do, I try to do for the betterment of humanity, and I have no ulterior motives. I don't fantasize about materialistic goods. I'm a very efficient person. You know, and biking is an efficient thing. Commuting by bike, you know, keeps me from dying in the hospital, and it helps me be there for my kids. And I try to be a better father and a better man every day, and I love the kids that I teach. My own students, I teach them like my own extended family. I think the Chinese people around me, I love them just like I love all humans. I don't see this as a strange foreign land. I see this as a family, and I'm very open to everybody. And after living around the world for so many years, my whole concept of boundaries and borders is probably not the same as your concept. And you know what? I honestly, I heard stories about people living on pirate islands. I have to look at my time, see what time it is here. Oh, I gotta go see. People living on pirate islands and not having any new language and meet the locals and creating their own language. Because of my wife's health and stuff, I've hardly seen any foreigners at all in years. And I can't remember how many months it's been since I spoke to another foreigner. Maybe 7 months. And that's what I am. And that's who I am. And that's what this is with this blog here. And you want to come and ride with me and you want to see how it is a little bit in China and be my guest, I'm so happy to use YouTube. And I have to tell you, it's really hard to use YouTube in China. I finally got it figured out, but the upload speeds I can't get past 50 kbs, so it's hard. I'm happy we got this chance to sit down together and put a face. Anyway, my eyes are a little bit crazy because even 2 beers make you a little bit crazy after you're riding your bike a lot. But that's good because your body's getting cleaner. But I'm happy to meet you, and you're welcome to come with me anytime. And I'm learning as I make these, and I don't have a lot of time. This isn't my only responsibility. In fact, this isn't even a responsibility of mine. I just try to make it happen while I'm doing all my other stuff. And peace on earth, be cool, ride a bike, and do the right thing. And I'll see you guys on YouTube, Deep Thought Cycle Club. And let's see the bike too. And there is the bike. And I gotta get to class, so.